Thank you for being with us. We're at the home of Martha White at 109 Leek Street, and she's agreed to have a oral interview for our oral history for the Etowah Valley Historical Society. And we have her niece, Diane Pike, and a niece, Katie Fields, and Sonny Miller, who is not a relative, but he lived next door to her all of his life, growing up. So we're glad to have them to help us get everything that you need to talk about, including your husband, Bob White. Okay? Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. What was your childhood home like?
It couldn't be better.
Well, good.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And your neighborhood?
It was good, too. Mm-hmm.
How many siblings did you have?
Well, there was 2 sets of children.
Okay.
My mother had 2 boys and 2 girls, about 2 years apart.
Yes.
And they grew up, and their children are my age.
Oh, I see.
My nieces and nephews are about my age. I have one nephew that's the same age I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mother waited 9 years and had one. And then she had my brother and I. So we were just like another family.
I bet.
But they were married, and they come home with my nieces and nephews, and we all played together and had a good time.
That's great. And what area of the county was there?
On Cassville Road.
On Cassville Road. Okay. And what was your role in the family? What did you do? Were you responsible for anything?
She was the baby.
She was the baby? Well, that says enough, doesn't it? At school, what were you like?
Well, I
Did you study?
not too much.
Not too much. You played a lot. That's what babies are for.
But my brothers and sisters, they taught me how to read and write and count forever I went to school.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it made school easy for you then.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Excuse me. Other than family, who were the most important people in your life when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, let's see. I was Baptist when I was growing up until I married a Methodist. And Mr. Guy Atkinson at the First Baptist Church was my preacher for many, many years.
Yes.
And Judge Davis's brother's wife was my Sunday school teacher.
Okay.
And I have the Bible she gave me, and in the front of it she said, "Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and you shall be saved."
Okay.
And so, and I remember my teachers. Miss Dinks Irick was one of my teachers.
Yeah.
And our family got everybody mixed up because when I started school, my nephew was in the same grade as I. And so Miss Dinks would say, "Well, who's the aunt?" And I'd say, "I am." She said, "Well, who's the uncle?" He'd say, "I am." So she couldn't get it straightened out for a while, so all of our lives she called us Aunt Martha and Uncle Griffin.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. What were the happiest times of your childhood?
Of my childhood, getting in the car and riding all over the country, and we had a car that you snapped the windows on, and you'd get wet, you know. Well, my brothers, they would always take me. Well, if the sun was shining and all, I had to sit in the middle or in the floor. You know, the
Yeah.
cars have a long space in
Yeah.
them. But if it was raining, they put me on the outside.
Did your mama know that?
No. But they kept me everywhere.
Well, that was nice. So you got educated to the community quite quickly.
Every country road and cars.
Well, good. What was your biggest disappointment as a child?
My father died when I was a junior in high school.
Oh, I bet. I understand. Yes. What were your hobbies as a child?
Oh, playing backjack and rover come over and you throw it a ball, all kind of games and playing rook. Let's see, and playing with dolls.
Okay. Yeah. And you still like dolls,
I
don't you?
still love dolls.
Yes. When you were young, what did you imagine your adult life would be like?
Well, everybody had been a teacher or a nurse or something, and I didn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I like figures, so I tried to find me something to do with figures in it.
Okay, and you really did that too, didn't you? All right, what was your first job and how did you get it?
I never had but one job.
Oh, okay. Well, how did you get it?
Well, Bill Shadden was the president, and he lived on Castle Road,
President of what? Tell
the
us.
First National Bank.
Oh, okay.
And I knew him. You could get gas during the war when I was in
remember.
high school, and he had to walk to work, and I walked to school, and he knew me before I finished college.
Okay.
So when I finished college, the war was going, and Cecil Stevens worked at the bank, and he had to go to the Navy. So I had just gotten home from college, and Mr. Shadden called my mother and told me to come to the bank. So when I went to the bank, he said, Cecil Stevens is leaving, I think he said in 2 days. And he said, we need someone and we don't want to hire a boy because he'll be leaving. So he said, we're going to make a guinea pig out of you and see how this works. So he hired me and I never had another job.
How wonderful. And what college did you go to?
Well, it was Bessie Tiff when I was.
I know, was there when I was in college too.
And then it was Tiff and now it's Mercer.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. I had friends who went to Bessie Tiff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, was money a big factor for you?
Well, I always had what I wanted. My daddy worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
And,
So it wasn't a depression or anything like that?
well, my daddy was always, wouldn't let you buy anything on credit or anything.
Yeah.
So when the depression came, Henry Crow worked for the Knee-High Balling Company and he lost his job. So he lost his house and my daddy bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rob Stewart lived in the other house that he had a grocery store at Fairview above the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And he had sold all on credit and he couldn't get the money back. So my daddy bought that house because he never would let us buy anything on credit.
Oh, okay.
So that's how we got started on Castle Road.
Oh, okay.
And he farmed and worked. He worked at Ladd's, and when the year I was born, he went to work at Goodyear.
Okay, okay.
And he farmed too,
Oh, wow.
because we had
He
a
was
lot
a
of
busy
land.
man, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was there one person, a mentor maybe, who had a big impact on your working career?
I guess Mr. Shadden Sr.
Mr. Shadden Sr. Now, is that Libby Shadden, is that...
Shadden, Bill Shadden's daddy.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Bill Shadden Jr.'s daddy.
All right. Okay. And I'm still a newcomer. I've only been
Yeah.
here 25 years.
Well, that's good.
Is there anything you think is absolutely crucial to success at work?
You just have to work hard. Really. See, back then, I never got off on the last day of the month till after midnight.
Mm.
You had to do your statement and your ledger on the last day of the month
Mm-hmm.
and make those statements before you went home.
Woo, and they had to balance.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh. What was the best job you ever had?
That's the only job I ever had. So
Well,
I
no,
guess
wait a
it was,
minute. You had different jobs with the First National
yeah.
Bank.
I've done every job.
Every job. Well, I know, too, that you were the first woman to be a vice president.
I was the first woman that ever walked behind the teller. Now, I did other things.
Yes.
But, see, then, well, Mr. Paul Franklin was just a figure in that bank. And he was, well, I thought he was really, really old. But he was old then, and seemed like every day he was going to a funeral. Well, see, I'd have to work in that window while he was gone to the funeral. When they went to lunch, I walked in that window. See, I wasn't a full-time teller ever.
Ever. You just were you relieved them.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
And Mr. Franklin was from Fairmount. And if anybody came in that bank and had a check and told him they was from Fairmount, he'd cash it. One day, Louise Dent, that's Elliot Dent's sister-in-law, was working there. So she said, I told y'all Mr. Franklin would cash a check for anybody. And so she put on a great big nose and fixed herself up and went out and came to the window, and she started talking to him and said, Mr. Franklin, you know, I'm from Fairmount, and I need this check cashed. He cashed it.
Times have changed, haven't they?
Yeah.
Whoa. Goodness. Did your career have any major turning points?
No, I don't think so.
Well, when did you become vice president?
I was assistant cashier in 1954.
Okay.
I was, how old was I? In my 20s. And then I was assistant vice president in 1960.
Okay.
And then I was vice president in 1967.
Okay. Well, you worked your way up to that. You certainly did.
And that hutch right in there,
Yes.
the top of that is from the First National Bank.
Oh, well.
Yes,
When they,
when they remodeled,
yes.
they tore all the wood out and, you know, made it modern.
Oh, I know.
So I said, can I have some of that wood? And I better not say what Mr. Hill said.
Okay.
But anyway, I got the wood, and that had a mirror across that top, about up to where that top shelf is. And so it took me 2 years to get to explain to my husband, he didn't want to tear it up, what I wanted to do. But anyway, those scrolls were on the wall of the bank
Okay.
and had a piece of glass where you made your deposit.
Oh.
And that, well, I've got a picture in there of me standing in front of that door.
I'll be.
That was, well, it was just an open space, but it was my office then. And that, in the back is the
I'll be.
wood.
How wonderful that you were able to save that. Yeah, I love those scrolls. What were the best moments of your working career?
Oh, fixing lunch. On Wednesdays and Saturdays for the people that worked at the bank.
Oh, well, I know you're a good cook. I know.
I tell you, one time Joe Herring, he said, Martha, do you know how to make onion soup? And I said, yes. He said, would you make us some onion soup today? And I said, yes. And there was a swinging door out to the kitchen. And so I put that onion soup on. I'd go early and get it started, you know, just like one thing or so. And so when I walked out back that door, I smelled that onion soup all over that bank. And I thought, oh, Lord, I'm in for it. Well, sure enough, here come Mr. Shedden with those little short legs just flying down there and swung that door open. And he said, what are you doing? I said, welcome to the Greek kitchen. And he got tickled. But we had the smell of onion soup on. And he said, don't ever do that again.
Well, I bet it smelled good too, didn't it? Because I love onion soup, and I know it tasted good. On balance, did you like your chosen career?
Yes.
Yes. If you had it to do all over again, would you do the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. Now this is about love and family.
All right.
Were you and Bob in love from the start, or did your relationship take time?
Well, I really knew his mother before I knew him.
Mm-hmm.
He moved to Cartersville from Marietta in 1935.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonny Miller's father had the meat market at A&P store.
Okay.
And my brother worked in the meat market with his father.
Okay.
Okay, we would go to pick up my brother, and Miss Miller and Miss White would be down there to get Mr. Miller, and I met her before ever I met my husband.
Okay.
And then they had a house side by side on Irwin Street. Miss Tedder owned them, and she died, so they were going to sell them. So they had no place to go. So Bob he had gone to work at the depot.
Okay.
His daddy was the cashier at the depot.
Yes.
And he had gone to work at the depot, so he had to go to the army.
Mm-hmm.
And so Miss White lived by the Millers on Irwin Street.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came back from the army, both of us was going to have to move, and Bob and I were getting married. So Bob bought all this,
Okay.
and they divided it and made two houses out of it. So that's how I've known the Millers ever since I was married. And then my nephew, I married Bob that lived by the Millers, and then my nephew, William Wheeler, came to see me riding a pony and met Ann.
Okay.
And so they got married.
So that's Sonny's mother.
No, it's her daddy.
Your daddy. Okay.
Her
okay.
daddy.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Diane Pike's mother and daddy.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So we started building this house, and it took us 2 years to build it. We had to Bob was a veteran, so he could get so many pounds of nails.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Miller was a meat man, so he could get wood.
How did you get wood from me?
Well, you bartered a lot.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, meat was hard to get.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Did you build houses at the same time?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they both built
Yeah,
at the
see,
same time?
we finished this house on February, I think it was the 29th, and got married on March the 9th. And
Wow.
I've never lived anywhere else.
Okay. What can you tell us about growing up next to her, Bobby?
Well, it was
Sonny?
really a blessing, to have grown up next to the Whites, because it was like having another set of parents. Their home was always open back then. And I can remember us living down on Irwin Street and the trains going by, and they were steam trains back then.
Oh,
of
yeah.
course. in the wintertime, you know, we put out those big old clouds of smoke and
Yeah.
everything. And I would go to the depot. It was the NC and St. L Railway, was who Bob and his father, Mr. White, worked for. And I would always stop by there on the way back from the movie on Saturdays and go in there and see Bob and his dad. And it was, you know, it's an interesting place it was, with all the trains stopping and then back then.
We had a lot of passengers back then,
Yeah.
didn't we?
I think one of the most interesting things, Martha, though, was the story you told me and showed me of Bob sending home his Army pay
Uh-huh,
to you, and you kept a ledger of that.
yeah.
all
That was our
during the
hope
war.
check.
He was stationed in Germany.
He was in, he was on D-Day.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
he even participated in D-Day?
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
he was in the Signal Corps.
Signal
Bob
Corps,
was always
yeah.
a ham radio operator and was a very
Yeah.
good Morse code operator.
Yeah.
See, when he went into the Army and was sent over there as in a railway battalion, well, when they got over there, the trains over there was operated by radio.
Oh,
And see, the Americans didn't know how to do them and things. But he knew all about radio, so they detached him. He stayed in the 728, but they detached him, and they gave him a Jeep and a driver, and he went from station to station to repair the radios.
oh, okay. He was kind of an entity on in his own.
And then he worked in the office. He typed secret information and all that stuff. But he stayed over there. See, he was the first to get there because they had to get the men over there.
Yes.
And then he was declared essential, so he was overseas almost 3 years.
Oh my goodness. And you all weren't married yet?
No,
Oh, but I understand you have a few letters he wrote you.
yes, I do. But anyway, see, he was 4 years older than I was. And see, he was born in 21 and the war was in 41, so
Yeah,
he
was
knew he was
20.
going to have
Yes,
to go.
Yes.
So he enlisted. He and Pete McDaniel from Cartersville, and they were in the war together. And,
Okay.
but he was overseas almost 3 years. And in fact, that Normandy invasion stuff, I got the certificate
Oh,
in there on the bed.
okay.
Yeah.
Of his thing.
He was in England and France and Holland and Germany. He had,
I bet he never wanted to go back, did he?
oh no,
I didn't think so. So many of them didn't. Well, is there anything else you can tell us?
No, it's
As
just
a
that
kid.
Bob was a very interesting person. He had a lot of hobbies, and the Whites always, well, let's just say they were an educated family, and they took subscriptions to Look magazine, Life magazine, Reader's Digest, and Miss White always read to me as a child.
Okay.
And
So you were a teacher after all.
well, this is
This is
uh,
my
This is
mother-in-law.
Mrs.
This is
White.
Mrs.
Oh,
White, her
okay.
mother-in-law. Martha always worked, so
Okay.
Mrs. White was only.
Yeah.
See,
So anyway, she would read to me, and you know, got me off to an early start on getting an education.
That's wonderful.
well, I'd only been married 2 years when Mr. White died, and we had this house, and they had never started building a house, and he had a heart attack. So my mother-in-law lived with me for 33 years.
Bless your heart.
Sweetest lady in all
How
the world.
wonderful. How wonderful. Not many people feel that way. That's marvelous.
Oh, and the Saturday Evening Post too
Yeah.
was there, because that was one I think had all the Norman Rockwells. I believe it was. the
Yes,
Saturday
it
Evening
was.
Post.
Yes.
And I still take Reader's Digest. In fact, I got it laying on that kitchen table in there.
Yeah, I got that one too. That was one I liked. Yeah. How fortunate you were,
Very
Sonny, to have that experience.
And we bought him a bicycle.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Did
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have 3 older sisters.
Oh, no wonder they.
But see, he could have been my son.
Yes, he could have been.
He was the baby.
He could have been my son because he watched you were 4 years old when we got married.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Well, what have you always regretted not asking your parents? Is there anything?
No, they always told me everything. I can't remember.
Tell them about Mama, how you used to read the letters you and Mama.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
When I was in the war, one day Mother said, "You know what?" Martha said, "Bob ought to write a book." Says he can write this most interesting letters. I said, "Do what, Mother?"
Well, he could, and he actually did do some writing.
I've read some of them.
Yeah. Well, he's written several. He wrote several articles, I know, for the historical.
Yes, I got some in there on the bed. Uh-huh.
That's wonderful. Who in the family is the most like you?
My mom. I'm like my mom. Who's like me?
Not me.
Who knows you better than anyone?
Me.
I guess so. I helped
These
raise
two?
her too, and him.
Katie and I
Kate.
know her about.
I helped raise her.
Okay. Other than family, who's the most important in your life now?
Now,
Mm-hmm.
let me see. Other than family, who is most important? That's hard to say.
You have so many friends, but I've heard Libby Shadburn's name
She
a lot.
is. Yeah.
Because you all have been in a lot of
Things to,
organizations together.
went to school together, and Doris Brown. In fact, when I finished high school, Doris Brown and I rode the bus and went to Michigan.
Wow.
And we went on to Canada, and that was 1942.
Wow.
Yeah. So she was a good friend for us to spend a week
Oh,
together.
yes. Oh, especially on a bus.
Yeah.
Martha, let's talk about the social and business clubs you were in too, because you were in the Beta Sigma Phi.
Let's see. I'm a charter member. I started Beta Sigma Phi. I'm a charter member of Pilot Club. I started that.
Okay.
And I been going to church when it was links and circles and all that, so I've lived through the church programs. And
That's when I
let's
first
see, I'm
knew
in the
you.
garden club,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in the I belong to the Historical Society,
Certainly.
and to the museum, and to the Booth Museum,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to get to Booth Museum so I could be one of the original ones.
A docent. So you're a charter docent too. Yeah.
Trish, one of the things the ladies did back then was they had most of the club meetings would be in the homes,
Yes.
and I don't think they do that as much anymore, but I remember one Christmas, Martha had, I think it might have been the Pilot Club that was coming over here to the house, and she had told Bob to put the Christmas tree up. So when he got in from work, I came over, of course, and we were back in the radio room, you know, we're doing radio
Yeah.
stuff. And Bob says, "Oh my goodness, Sonny, we got to put the Christmas tree up." And said, "We don't have but 30 minutes to do it." So we threw the Christmas tree up and put it right over here in this corner.
Yeah.
And I think we threw the lights on it and all of the ornaments. And it was a live tree too.
Oh, wow.
That's all you had back then.
Yeah.
And anyway, Martha, did it fall over
It
during
fell.
the meeting or at the end?
And it fell.
It
Yeah.
fell over.
Uh-huh.
Well-
Broke a lot of my ornaments too.
Well, that wasn't my fault. That was
Oh, goodness, goodness. What makes you laugh the hardest?
Oh, some of the things the little children do. They are so cute.
What's the key to a great friendship?
Being a friend to each other
Mm-hmm. Being
makes
loyal.
a friendship.
Yes, being loyal. 2. Do you have a favorite book or author?
Uh,
I should say besides the Bible.
I guess my favorite book would be, I got 2.
Okay.
I like Gone with the Wind and Little Women.
And what about a favorite movie? Do you have a favorite movie?
I don't have a favorite.
Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, I guess so.
Pretty woman.
Pretty Woman.
Oh,
I've
I
seen.
love that too.
I've seen that.
That 5,000 times.
Yeah.
I bet she's seen it more than
Oh,
What's the best trip you ever took?
Well, I don't know which one was the best because every summer, 2 of my nieces and my sister-in-law, their mother and I, we always took a trip together.
Oh, fun.
And well, one funny thing was, my brother lived in Jackson, Michigan. Her daddy, and it's not far from Niagara Falls.
Uh-huh.
Well, I remember seeing the Cascades at Jackson, Michigan. So we were going to go into Canada and all through that. And so they said, well, you've got to go see Niagara Falls. I said, I've already seen it. They said, no, you hadn't. I said, yes, I did. But it was the Cascades, and actually they're prettier than Niagara Falls.
I remember we went and saw them.
But
I've
anyway,
heard.
we've always taken a vacation
Well,
together.
great. That's wonderful. A family outing together. And that's how you learn, too. I think traveling is educational.
Well, her mother, I can't even read them out. I get lost in the middle of the floor. I have no sense of direction. But her mother could take you anywhere.
Yeah. I think some people are talented that way. If you could go somewhere you've never been, where would it be?
I don't know where I've never been that I'd like to go. Maybe I'd like to go to a gambling place and see what it's like.
A casino.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah, when we went to
Atlantic City.
Atlantic City. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what, the casino?
Yeah, we stayed at the top of the hall.
I
You
wouldn't.
didn't tell me that.
I wouldn't gamble, but I gave them the money to gamble. They didn't win on their money, but they
Maybe she
won
wants to
on
go
my
back
money.
if she brought it up again. Maybe you want to go back.
Yeah. Would you rather be living somewhere else?
No.
I didn't think so. What are the 5 things you couldn't live without?
Ooh.
Us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
Well,
family.
I got 12 nieces and nephews, and I forgot how many great nieces and nephews, and now I have a great niece.
Wow.
Oh, we got past that.
So I couldn't live without them.
I understand. What's your most beloved personal possession?
Oh,
Your memory.
yeah, my memories.
That's wonderful that you can remember. That's wonderful. What's the bravest thing you've ever done?
Walking across foot logs when they go fishing or something, and they'd get in the middle of it, and they'd say, I bet there's a snake down there.
Oh. Is there anything you always wanted to do but never did?
No.
Okay. What would I be surprised to learn about you?
Well, you don't know, probably, because I hadn't had enough association to know that much, but stubborn.
You told me that. That you were stubborn, yes. What were the best years of your life?
Oh, I guess when the first years of my marriage
And what was the hardest decision you've made?
ever made. Oh. Let's see. I didn't make too many decisions.
Life was just with you. I mean, you just lived life, didn't you?
Home, nursing home, wasn't
Oh yes, my mother spent a month in the nursing home.
Oh dear, that's
That
so
was
hard.
terrible.
That was so hard.
Hmm.
Because she had lived with you.
No,
No.
that's my mother. See, I had my mother and my mother-in-law sick at the same time.
Oh, I'm so sorry. No wonder you're so stalwart. Anybody that can handle that, that's wonderful. Do you believe that people can change?
Yes.
Do you believe in God?
Oh yes.
Has life made you more cynical or hopeful?
I think I'm hopeful.
What do you consider the most important world events during your lifetime?
I guess World War II.
World War II. Do you think life is harder or easier than when you were young?
Well, as you grow up, everything gets hard.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get old, it gets harder than when you were young because, well, God has a way of taking care of us. When we get old, He slows us down. We can't walk as fast. We can't think as fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so, growing old, it's bad, but it has advantages too because we have a slower pace of life.
That's totally true. What are you the most proud of?
The most? I think my family and friends.
That's wonderful.
And my
that's-
church.
Yes, and is that how you'd like to be remembered?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, you have some collections around here that you were going to share with us.
Yes.
And some of them were Bob's things that you wanted to share. And where are they?
On the bed in there.
On the bed. And you have a lot of pottery.
Yes.
And you knew him well, didn't you?
Yes.
And
In fact, my house is in his book.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of his name right now.
W.J. Gordy.
Gordy. It just slipped and left me. Well, can we take the camera and look at these things?
Yes, you can.
And then we'll bid you goodbye. And we thank you for being here and being part of us. And you're so wonderful, and I'm so glad to have gotten to know you that much better. I've always loved you, but I'm so glad to have known you better. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming back with us, and thank you for looking at the things we have. Bob White was not only a railroad man, he was a great collector of Civil War memorabilia. And Martha tells me that this quilt is what got him started in collecting. It's one of the crazy quilts. And his great-grandmother made it. She made 4 and gave them to her children. His great-grandfather fought in the Civil War, and his name was Benjamin Turner. And this is his wife. Can you see that? And this, what did I do with the thing? Do you see something that I dropped? Yeah, here it is. This is a sewing kit that Mrs. Turner made for her husband to carry, and he carried it all through the Civil War. And Bob, when he found all of these, he got really interested. And he was our county's, he and Clyde Jolly did more to establish, and J.B. Tate later, to establish the real history of Bartow County and the Civil War. Bob had a diploma. Of course, Cassville was burned then, and Bob had a diploma, and we didn't know what it looked like. And there was a female academy there, but we didn't have a picture of it. And Bob found a diploma from one of his aunts from the Female Academy. It was burned during the war. And Jodine, this is hard to do, but Jodine White painted a colored picture of it, and it hangs in the EVHS office, and it's on the front of the book, The History of Old Cassville, which is available there. Now, Martha's going to tell you about his being a railroad man.
As you know, the really old part of the depot was torn down when Clyde Charles was mayor. They had put, Governor Harris was trying to get them not to tear down the depot. And they were going to tear the whole depot down, but he got the order to them before they tore the whole depot down. But the really old part of the depot was what was torn down. And this is a piece of wood that came down out of the old depot. It shows the gunshots things. And this is some of the pigs that came out of the depot. And this is the original key to the depot. And you can tell how old it is by how it's been molded together. But this is the old original doors to the depot's key.
Well, thank you so much. Bob and Martha and the Jollies have just been wonderful, and we thank you for coming back again. And look in Mr. Gordy's book. Martha's House is featured in that with his pottery. Thanks so much.